with everything going on, I think a lot of people have their attention kind of scattered because now we've got, the whole situation. You got Wendy fighting Nebel, you got Laxus and Kyria. We don't really know what's up with Gray at the moment. 3 more orbs remaining. Lucy's gone out to find Kana. Nata's against Wraith. There's a lot going on right now in this arc. I mean, it's way more hectic and has so much more just like scattered than the whole arc in Elmida. Because I mean, really over there you had their Dragon Eaters showed up. They caused some problems. They had the Dragon Slayers themselves. In the main cast, and everyone kind of went all getting separated. You had the whole Merce phobia thing. But here it's just like all going in different directions, which I think is really appropriate to the fact that he's got all these cities all over his body. But for me, the largest plot point right now in this arc that's been set is the whole thing with Wraith. Because Wraith as a character, he's got a lot of potential to reignite old plot points that I'm really interested in. Because we know, way back, after just finding out, Laxus is Makarov's grandson. Okay, well, who's Makarov's son? Okay, then we found out it's Ivan. What's special about Ivan? Oh, he's kicked out of the guild. What reason? There was a lot of mysteries leading up to it, a lot of questions, and then we found out that, he's got his own guild. He's got Raventale. He's in, like, this spooky desert-like place with, like, this giant scully skeleton, like he's sand dune place. He can straight turn stuff into like Shikigamis. He's got a lot of weird powers. And on top of that, I wouldn't even say like a villain. He's much more like a dirtbag. This whole, the whole plan that he really wanted to do of getting Laxus to him was to get the lacrima out of his body so he could sell it, get money, and then finance this big war that he wanted with the Fairy Tale Guild. And once we finally got to the Grand Magic Games, Raventale got made into an official guild. There was stuff with them. They were causing some problems within the tournament itself, and then got busted for trying to cheat during Laxus's match with Ivan. And then Ivan he got his whole guild disbanded, and he pretty much lost all plot relevancy at that point. Which again, a lot of fans I know were upset by it. I know a lot of them were disappointed by the lack of follow-up for this character that there was some hype behind. He had a name contrary to the Fairy Tale Guild. He had Raventale. That he, quote-unquote, made a guild of anti-Fairy Tale mages. But I don't really know where he got that notion, given the magics that the members of Raventale had. No one really seemed to have. I mean, you had, Flare had, hair magic. You had Black Snake could copy magic, which was useful, but no pudding. He just made spikes, and actually Obra was definitely a straight anti-mage with that whole nulling of magic in general. But we don't really know what his character's purpose was, because after he went and joined up with Zareth, and then he wasn't in the Alvarez arc or Tartarus. But regardless of which, what I was going with this is this could easily open back up Ivan's storyline, because out of all the families in the series, the Dryers, I think, are the most well constructed. We know a lot about them in I would say a fair enough sense, and it definitely runs their family of being powerful and are clearly important. But Yuri, Yuri is a little bit of a mystery. I mean, we could easily have some relation to Yuri, directly off of Yuri, because his death was kind of a little bit vague, and we don't really know anything about any of the wives. We don't know about Yuri's wife. We don't really know anything about Makarov's wife. We don't know anything about Ivan's wife. I'm wondering if it's Ivan, because here's the thing. Ivan, we already know, one, he was a scummy dude, bad dad. He already turned one of his sons into a dragon slayer. He's already wanting to go to battle with Fairy Tale. He wanted to, it was pretty much above all else for him. And he just was an all-around scummy guy. Now, what if he had a second son that he ended up at some point pretty much abusing to death, that being Wraith? It could easily go down in this idea of this pathway. I personally think it's the most logical one. Like I said, none of the wives are really known. You could do something with that, but it'd just be opening up a whole different plot line of well, then why are they important? What about them was important? Or you can have Ivan, who's already established. He could somehow be a child of Makarov's or uncle of Makarov's or something. Personally, I think the Ivan storyline is the most potential, and personally, I think the best option, because it could easily give Ivan relevancy again. And his character definitely needs to be relevant again. Like he had enough backstory importance that he should have been a bigger character. There is potential that he could come back and still be able to contend. And I mentioned this a little bit in the review that I did of the last chapter, is he could have like gone around to each of the destroyed like top dark guilds, collected stuff. Like maybe he went to the remains of Tartarus and he found out like information in his own Hell's Core to make pretty much demons. And then you could have Hell's Core be relevant again. Maybe he went to Grimoire Heart and he has all their last collection of Lost Magic that Hades had, all those books on magic. Maybe he got Cain and Rusty Rose to join him up. There's a lot there that could easily be expanded upon and add a really interesting extra layer to what's coming up in the story. But also just, I think it would be a bit justice for this character, because like I said, he never had anything really to hype up that he was a big deal other than his family name, and he seemed to have some personal beef between he and Guild Arts. Other than that, like there were no displays that like members of Raventale were supposed to be like top tier, or Ivan himself was gonna be as powerful as like Laxus or Makarov. It was just assumed. But it could easily open that back up for him to be able to do something. And if he and his guild were able to get like way stronger than they were before, it's like, well, then how is that possible? And there needs to be a good reason why they can somehow jump this high up. And again, like human experimentation, something like Hell's Core, like forbidden magics, that's something that could easily cover that gap, because we know he would be 100% okay with forcing them to do stuff that would be bad for them but good for his goals, cheat ways to forcefully push himself. I mean, even look at something like okay, well, they have, if he went to Grimoire Heart and he ended up finding all the magic books on the Arc of Time, that has somebody that has Ultier's magic, and then bam, you could give every single person you have not only Lost Magic, but also Second Origin. You can also use Hell's Core and make them demonic. Who knows what you can really do in the large span of a plan, given what you're willing to sacrifice in order to, reach that end goal. But I mean, that's mostly really like a lot of the other characters. Like Urza had a funny interaction with Jalal, Laxus and Carrie seems to be continuing on. Wendy Nebel seems to be carrying on. I mean, there's not a whole lot of like layout for the story that you can really have on that, other than like Urza's going back to try and get that orb. Gray again, not really known. I still think that Lucy is going to find Kana to use Gemini to take her ability of cards. She has that ability she got from Sho, that she can trap people in cards. So when they defeat members of the guild that were mind altered by the White Witch, they can confine them in the card, and that way, they don't have to worry about them just kind of, regaining magic and stamina and getting back up. But other than that, comment below. Tell me what you think is going to happen, what you think about my theory. Again, Ivan, I'm really hoping that he's somehow like, an extra son to Ivan that the dude pretty much just abused into death. Because I think he's the most logical thing to do. Plus, with the whole, like, oh, Wraith is looking for the guy that killed him plotline that was introduced, I think it'd be better to use an older character like that than just introduce a whole entirely new one. Because it would give a lot more interest of, oh, well, then what does this present for Ivan? Otherwise, it'll just be like, oh, what is this fancy new character? We don't know anything about him. That's going to be a whole different thing we got to get through versus, a face we recognize and already don't like. Anyway, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed. I thank you all for listening. Bye.